Still locking it, huh? Like anyone's trying to break in. The teenager's voice drifted across the courtyard, followed by scattered laughter. The old janitor didn't flinch. He looped the thick chain through the gym door handles, just like he did every afternoon. One loop, two, three, then the padlock clicked shut. Firm, final. He gave the doors a tug to be sure. Always did. The sun beat down on his faded uniform shirt. His knees creaked, but he stood straight, checking the lock one last time before turning away. One kid pulled out his phone. Another raised his hand in a mocking salute. The old man adjusted his worn military cap and walked on. They thought it was just a habit, but he wasn't locking a door. He was standing guard. If you believe dignity shows up when no one's watching, comment one word below: respect. The school was ordinary, the kind that smelled like pencil shavings, cafeteria food, and dust baked into the floors. Kids moved through the hallways like water through old pipes. Loud, chaotic, constant. And every afternoon, like clockwork, the janitor made his way to the gym. Harold Reyes was the kind of man students didn't notice unless they needed a mop or lost something down a vent. His posture was slightly bent, but his walk was steady. He wore the same blue uniform shirt every day, sleeves rolled to the elbows, and a cap faded by years of sun and memory. Most thought he wore it out of stubbornness. They didn't know it used to be part of a uniform that mattered. At 4:03 p.m. sharp, he arrived at the double doors of the gym, chain and padlock in hand. 3 loops through the metal handles, a tug on the chain, lock clicks shut. Then a step back, eyes scanning the frame for weakness, hands brushing the edge as if confirming it was sealed. He did this every day. No one asked him to. Inside, the gym hadn't been used in years for anything but storage. Old mats, broken scoreboards, boxes of forgotten trophies. Some staff had joked it should be demolished. The kids just saw it as the haunted part of the school. But Reyes never missed a day, rain or shine, even during summer break. Sometimes he'd pause after locking it, just to stare at the door, like he was remembering something he'd never say out loud. One young teacher, Mr. Delaney, had asked him once, half joking, "You guarding ghosts in there, Harold?" Reyes had smiled faintly, just keeping the wrong people out. The younger man had laughed it off. The students, though, found it strange, obsessive. Some called him Private Lockdown. Others snuck behind him and mimicked his steps when he walked. Most days he ignored them, not out of patience, out of discipline. His silences were earned, not accidental. He took care of the school like it was sacred, not just clean, protected. He replaced broken locks without being told, fixed water fountains before anyone noticed they were leaking, walked the perimeter before sunrise, boots echoing through the still morning air. To him, this wasn't just a job. It was a post. And posts, once assigned, weren't abandoned. It started as a joke. A group of seniors, bored after classes and emboldened by the usual invisibility of adults, decided to play a prank. Reyes was the target. Private Lockdown, as they called him behind his back. One of them, Mason, had swiped a spare set of keys from a substitute weeks earlier. Just enough access to make mischief. Just enough to think they were untouchable. They waited until Reyes entered the gym one afternoon, checking something inside. He rarely stayed long, just a quick walkthrough before locking up. But that day, as he stepped in and let the doors swing closed behind him, they struck. The lock clicked shut from the outside. They held it tight. "Hey, Sergeant!" one of them shouted through the door. "Looks like you're under siege!" Laughter, loud, sharp, confident. Phones out, recording. Inside, Reyes didn't respond. He tugged once on the doors, then twice, realizing the game. He didn't yell, didn't bang. He simply sat down on an overturned bench just inside the entrance and waited. 15 minutes passed, then 20. Eventually, the assistant principal walked by and spotted the students loitering. One of them tried to play it off, but the lock gave them away. She unlocked the doors with her master key. Reyes stepped out slowly, nodding at her, then at the boys. Not with anger, just that same quiet presence. They expected him to snap, to yell, maybe threaten punishment. Instead, he simply re-looped the chain, locked the doors again, 3 loops, 1 tug, 1 click, and walked back to the custodian's office without a word. Inside the front office, the incident got a chuckle. Old Reyes got locked in? Serves him right for treating this place like Fort Knox, the school secretary joked. Even the principal smirked. Maybe he'll ease up now. But the next day at exactly 4:03 p.m., Reyes was at the gym again, chain in hand. Same routine, same care, as if nothing had happened. The boys posted the video online, added music, captions. Old man thinks he's still in the army. It got laughs, likes, shares. But Reyes never changed the way he walked, never changed the way he locked that door. What they didn't understand was that he wasn't doing it for them. Years ago, before the gym was locked and forgotten, it had been a place of noise, basketball games, assemblies, school dances, but also shadows. Late one evening, long after the building should have been empty, Reyes had stayed behind to repair a broken radiator in the science wing. That's when he heard it. Footsteps. Too many. Too fast. Raised voices. A sharp scream. He moved toward the gym. Inside, he found a group of older boys surrounding a freshman girl. She was pressed against the bleachers, trying to push past them. One of them laughed when Reyes entered, like it was all harmless fun. But his voice cut the room like a blade. Leave. There was something in his tone that didn't come from janitorial authority. It came from years of barking orders under fire, something that didn't ask. It commanded. The boys hesitated, then backed off. The girl ran. And just like that, they were gone. No police report, no write-up. The girl never said a word. She dropped out 2 weeks later. The incident faded, but not for Reyes. From that day on, he locked the gym. Every day. No exceptions. He never told anyone. He wasn't interested in being a hero. He just made sure no one ever got trapped behind that door again. In his small locker, he kept a folded photo. A platoon from decades ago. Dusty boots, sun-scorched helmets, young faces already tired. In the corner, Reyes stood with his arms crossed, barely 20. Below it, a medal he never wore. A Bronze Star for Valor in Vietnam. Still polished, still packed away. He'd served in 3 wars, but that moment in the gym had shaken him in a way few others had. Now, years later, as he looped the chain around the door once more, a new figure stepped into the frame. Lieutenant Carlos Vega. Fresh off deployment, clean uniform, confident walk. And, unlike the rest of the staff, he stopped when he saw Reyes. Sergeant Reyes? The old man looked up, surprised. Few people ever used his title anymore. You probably don't remember me, Vega said, smiling. You used to walk the halls when I was just a kid here. You told me to stand up straight. Said respect starts with how you walk. I never forgot that. Reyes nodded once, quietly. Vega looked at the gym door, then back at him. Still guarding it? Still worth guarding, Reyes said. The announcement was brief. Community Appreciation Assembly. Friday, 2 p.m. Mandatory attendance. Most students barely noticed. Assemblies were just another reason to scroll through phones. Teachers shrugged. The staff assumed it was another motivational speaker or school spirit campaign. But that Friday felt different from the start. The gym, usually sealed, cold, silent, had been swept, aired out, and lit with clean amber lights. Folding chairs were arranged in careful rows. The stage was bare except for the school flag, and a podium no one recognized. Reyes, like always, stood near the back wall, hands clasped behind his back, cap on, uniform shirt tucked in, posture straight. No one had told him what the assembly was for. He assumed it was for someone else. It usually was. The room filled slowly. Students fidgeted. Teachers whispered. The principal stood near the side of the stage, glancing at his watch, confused. Then the doors opened, and Lieutenant Carlos Vega walked in, full uniform. Medals aligned, presence unmistakable. He moved like someone who had given and taken orders his entire adult life. But today, he stopped beside Reyes first. Good to see you again, Sergeant. Reyes nodded once, but his eyes showed surprise. Vega stepped onto the stage. I'm not here to talk about service in the military, he began, facing the crowd. I'm here to talk about a kind of service most people overlook. The kind that doesn't come with medals, but should. The room quieted. I was once a student here, I walk these halls like you do now, and like you, I pass someone every day without seeing him." He paused, until I understood what he was actually doing. A spotlight turned. All eyes followed it to the back wall. Reyes stood motionless, unsure of what was happening. Sergeant Harold Reyes, Vietnam veteran, Bronze Star, 30 years of service to his country, and more than a decade serving this school without ever asking for recognition. Murmurs spread. Some students sat up straighter. A few of the teachers blinked in disbelief. Vega continued. "Most of you know he locks this gym every day. What you don't know is why. He didn't share the whole story. Just enough. About a girl once protected. About a room that should have been safe. About a man who decided one silent promise could outlast memory. No one asked him to guard this place. He just never stopped. A slow shift took over the crowd. Not dramatic, just real. Jokes died on tongues. Laughter turned to silence. The projection screen flickered on. A short video played, Reyes walking the halls before sunrise, fixing a broken locker, nodding to teachers, locking the gym, loop by loop, click by click. The final image, a close-up of the new plaque mounted beside the gym doors that morning. Sergeant Harold Reyes Memorial Hall. For those who lock the doors, others forget to guard. It landed like thunder. The audience stood, not in a choreographed gesture, but instinctively. Quiet, united. Some clapped, some bowed their heads. Reyes stood frozen, mouth slightly open. Vega stepped down from the stage and approached him again. From his coat pocket, he drew a velvet box. Inside, the school's highest civilian honor. A medallion engraved with the school crest and Reyes's full name. "I know this won't matter to you as much as the lock you carry," Vega said quietly. "But we needed to say it. Out loud." Reyes nodded. Eyes glassed with age and something older than tears. No speech, no spotlight. Just a man holding a medal he never expected, for a service no one else had ever noticed. The next Monday, Reyes didn't carry the chain. He walked his usual route, checked the perimeter like always, but when he reached the gym, the doors were already open. Inside, a group of students swept the floor, replaced cracked tiles, cleaned windows no one had touched in years. Not because they were told, but because something had changed. They called it watch duty. Every week, a new group signed up. To close the gym, to care for it, to remember why it mattered. Reyes didn't lead them. He just watched. At the edge of the court, someone had placed a small bench. Not new, not polished, but it faced the doors, and beside it, a second plaque, smaller than the first. He never asked for thanks. He just never stopped showing up. One afternoon, as Reyes sat there resting his knees, a boy, maybe 7, maybe 8, walked over. He hesitated, then raised his hand in a crooked little salute. Reyes looked at him. His face softened. He returned the salute slowly, gravely, as if addressing a general. The boy smiled and ran off. Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the roof lines and the sky turned the color of old metals, Reyes stood in the doorway one last time. He reached into his pocket, the old padlock. He weighed it in his palm, thumb brushing the scuffs left by years of use. Then he handed it to one of the seniors on duty. "You know how to use it," he said quietly. The student nodded, eyes wide. Reyes walked away. Not slowly, not quickly, just forward. He didn't need to watch the lock click shut. Some things were protected now, not by habit, but by understanding. From that day on, the gym was never just a room again. And Reyes? He still walked the halls in the morning, still adjusted the flags, still nodded to every teacher and student who passed. But he never carried the chain again. He didn't have to. Stories like his aren't told to be loud. They're told so we remember what quiet strength looks like. If you believe dignity is worth protecting, subscribe to Tales of Dignity. Some locks stay closed, but these stories deserve to be opened.